Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another live with Prandata Prim on YouTube and Facebook. I'm happy to have these beautiful ladies again. Essence Revealed and Frenchie Davis Diz La Verite ici. It's so funny. We're waiting for people to come on live. But my family's from Haiti. So the first time I saw your Instagram name, Diz La Verite ici, of course, I understood what it meant because we speak Creole and French. French is the national language, official language in Haiti, even though majority speak Creole. But anyway, I was like, do you have French background?
Yes,
So
my father,
I didn't know.
which is where Frenchie comes from. So I was named after my father's father, and so I definitely wanted something that resonated with who I am as being Frenchie, and then just saying, sometimes we need to hear it over and over again, and in as many languages as we can hear it. Speak the truth.
Right. Speak the truth. So we got people coming on. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So if you haven't heard, me and these two beautiful goddesses, we're going to be leading Goddess Rising workshop this weekend. Oh my God, this weekend. So we really wanted to do a Q&A, question and answer. If you have any questions about this workshop that's coming up, now's your chance to ask us. As you're coming on, say hello, say hi so we can know who's on here.
Tell us yourself. Introduce yourself.
Yes. So I think both of you were saying at the same time, tell us where you're from and introduce yourselves. Great minds think alike. See, look, the two of them are saying the same thing. Frenchie and I both have purple lipstick. Do you have any doubt that we're going to be in sync or we're going to have a great workshop this weekend? So someone said hello, but it just says Facebook user. So that's weird. It doesn't say a name. It just says hello.
Facebook user.
Hello, Facebook user. That's so weird. And the Facebook user gives a heart. I don't know if it's because of the internet, but please introduce yourself. Say your name so we could say something else. I think people are coming on and it's just not showing their names or something for some reason. Yeah.
Karina.
Hi, Karina. So yes, people come on, say hello again. Let us know. We got people from Brazil. We got Alex in the house from Texas. Hello. Okay, so if you're a guy and you have a woman, tell your woman about this. Listen to this so you can explain this to your woman. We're going to be talking about why it's important to come to this workshop. We're going to be talking more about WAP, and just the importance of sexuality.
WAP or the other WAP?
we know the New York folks, right? Do it. The WAP, I remember that. So you can see this is going to be fun. All right. So yes, what do we want to start off with first?
Well, what I'm looking forward to. So one, I'm looking forward to Essence and your dance moves and teaching us a little something, with your expertise, we might come out of this workshop, even better than we came in. So I am really looking forward to that.
Let me just add on to that real quick before you say something else that you're excited for. I too, let me tell you, I've always wanted to be a stripper, right? And I wanted to dance. But I'm gonna say, I don't know if you guys have seen my reels lately on Instagram. I decided to start dancing on my reels because I just need to move more. And I think that it is important for us to move and move our hips. So I decided to do it on Beyonce because I really love Black is King. I watched it twice already and doing these clips, and I think it's just so deep. So I've been doing different ones on this, and people have been loving them. They've been excited for it. But I'm like, just kind of going into that, what you started talking about, Frenchie, with the dancing, and you're excited. One of Essence's workshops is strip away self-doubt or something like that.
Self-doubt. Yes.
Strip away self-doubt.
Self-doubt. And that one is less about the body movement and more about the movement in our thoughts, right? There's so many things that we are told by the world that we internalize, that we just have to strip it away. And I will show you a different way of thinking about it that I don't think you may have heard before. So we're going to start off with the body, and then we're going to start off with moving our minds and reframing how we think about certain things.
I know my body needs moving. And that's why I started doing this, because it's like, it's so important to just, just move that body, feel it move. It's good for lower back pain.
Historically, it's been used for mating. It's been used to help with childbirth. You ever see those videos when pregnant women are like, "Come on, baby, we got to get you on out." Movement. It is life. It is life.
What's really important, as this workshop is really about decolonizing, right? Decolonizing from stigma, sexual stigma, the stigma of even being a woman, being feminine, having different types of femininities, right? And so many times in the media, particularly Black women, get ostracized for their movement, for their abilities to shake, to throttle, to twist, to turn, to jiggle and wiggle. There's a lot of stigma around it. And luckily, now we're moving in this place where there are, Black only spaces for people of color, because we understand this stigma. And so for me, it's really important for those who take the time to register and sign up for this workshop, that this is really about unraveling those stigmas. Even when we see our children dance, we see a little girl dance, I see so many people freak the fuck out. And it's like, they're babies.
They're not thinking about anything sexual, right? Adults are sexualizing their movements.
Right. No little girl is like, "Ooh, I want to see Day-Day getting these diapers." Like, they're not there. They're not there. And so I'm really, excited about people coming into this workshop to do the work. There's a lot of work to be done. This is a lifetime process, but we want to help get you there.
Yes.
Idea of, a lot of times people talk about having safe spaces. And I think that, as Black women, being some of the most educated beings on the planet at this point, is a way in which we are taught that you cannot be considered intelligent and be a sexual being at the same time. Cut off that sexual part so that you can be taken seriously. And that really is a detriment to us as a holistic human being.
It is. I have a client that she was telling me that, all growing up, her mom and dad never said you're beautiful. It was always you're smart, you're intelligent, you could do anything you want. And all that, that was good for her work life. Like, she was very successful, but then she was cut off from that sexual energy, so it's like, and her parents tried to do the best that they could. They were like, okay, we don't want you to be seen as a sexual object. We want you to be successful. But it's like, like Essence is saying, we need that balance. We need that balance to connect to our sexual energy, our feminine side, as well as that intelligence.
And Karina, I believe it's Karina who said, I think it is, she talked about, the colorism as a Latin woman and how she's hypersexualized. And again, so there's this pitting against one another. Who gets right to dance and move and who does not? Beyonce does the exact same dances as Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion.
Right.
Yet there's this huge partition and in respectability politics around, who is justifiably dancing and who is not.
Right.
So it's very important that we in it ourselves, while the media tries to pick us apart, that we have a better understanding so that they don't create these divisions amongst us as diverse women.
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely.
It's interesting that you say that, because when you think about respectability, right? Beyonce speaks in a way that is more respectable to the status quo.
Well, she don't really speak.
Not really.
She doesn't speak a lot, actually. Now, true.
She only speaks through videos and but you have never seen her off script.
I'm just saying, as far as speech pattern, I think one of the things, I think Cardi would be taken differently if she spoke differently. But because I'm from the Bronx, period, then people have an issue with that.
Right. I think people see Beyonce as a little bit more educated, and then they look at Beyonce because I think what you're saying, the way she speaks, like she's ghetto, just because of her accent, the way she pronounces. And this is a thing, speaking of the, light skin and even just racism that we deal with as women. I'm from New York, I'm from Brooklyn, but then I went to Florida. And, my parents really instilled the value of education. And here I am in Florida in a white high school. And they're like, oh, you don't sound black. Like that's supposed to be a compliment, But anyway, I'm digressing onto this racial things that what we go through, Part
of it, though, a white woman doesn't have the same relationship with sexuality as a black woman does. And how interesting would it be for all of us to be in a space and have these conversations that usually only happen separately and behind closed doors?
Right. So I just want to add real quick that somebody, I don't know why it's showing up as Facebook user or mine. It's not showing me names. But someone said woohoo about dancing. Someone said I'm excited. So I do want to say along the bottom we have two different ways that you can join and sign up for this workshop. You can go to my website, prandadaprim.com/upcoming events. I cannot put it on here because Facebook bans my website because I'm empowering women and people on sexuality and can't have that, Right. So that we did create an Eventbrite. It's mygoddessrising.eventbrite.com. There is a little bit of a tax if you go through there, but you can go through the website and do payments through Cash App. You got all the information on my website, or if you choose, you can go through Goddess Rising on Eventbrite. So you have those two ways. So I did want to just share that. And someone said this sounds like a exciting, wonderful workshop. And it is going to be. It's going to be great, So
we have the trifecta here. We totally have the trifecta here. So I'm also really excited. I didn't get to speak about you, Renee, like what you do around Tantra, because now I feel like we're at this nexus where Black people are really trying to start beginning to unpack their sexuality and explore a lot more. And so when they hear about different topics like tantric or polyamory or all of these, or yoni, like all of these different spaces that we've generally been unfamiliar with for centuries because this is old practice. And so now in your work, we get to take our worship also back to a historical time where we didn't have these type of traditional oppressions too. And that's really important when they chime into your group and tap into your group as well. So tell us more about that. Hey, Ron.
Right. So you're kind of going in and out, and I kind of heard little bits and pieces. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay. So I heard you say, tell us about that and my work, but you were going in and out. My internet is sucking right now. So, but I'm going to go ahead and talk. If I go out, then you guys just start talking because they'll continue to hear you. Okay. So just FYI. But yeah, so, I heard the beginning, I missed part of the middle, but yeah, a lot of my work with Tantra and sacred sexuality, a lot of my work that I'm doing is to dispel the stigma and this taboo about sexuality, and so that's why I'm doing lives every Wednesday, I'm talking about polyamory, as you said. I'm talking about sexuality, different things, just to really get people to open up and feel comfortable talking about sexuality, because people make such a big deal about sex, like, oh my God, you can't talk about it. As soon as you bring it up, everybody's shying away. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was like, how often do you have fun? In parentheses, and I'm like, fun, and I know what he means, but I'm like, well, why do you have to say fun in parentheses? Why do we have to say we slept together last night as a euphemism for having sex, or having sex, we fucked, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so, but a lot of the work that I enjoy about Tantra is also making it conscious, making a conscious decision as to what you're doing. Whatever you do is fine. If you want to just go out and fuck. If you want to have more of a connection, a deeper, intimate connection, that's great as well. But we just have to be conscious and aware of what we're doing. And that's a lot of my work, taking away the stigma, being able to be comfortable in whatever it is that you choose. And that's what I loved about WAP video and Megan B and Cardi B. It's like, we enjoy sex, and I've always been one who enjoyed sex, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, you have to own up to who you are and what you want in life. And we deserve sex. It is our birthright to enjoy sex and enjoy sexuality.
I think also about choice, right? What is your choice? You have the choice to be someone who's out there with your discussions about sex and sexuality and your pussy and all those other things out loud. And you have the choice to keep it to yourself and quiet to only intimate partners. You have that choice. One of the things that really bothers me is this idea that, it should be this only talked about in hushed whispers behind closed door thing. And, really, we ought to empower ourselves with the choice, whichever way we decide as people individually. What speaks to you?
Yeah, I agree. It's amazing to me that we have so many women who don't want other women to have these choices. Now, your space is okay. But when we start minimizing and undermining other women's choices as women, we are doing such a disservice to ourselves as a collective woman community. And it puts us at risk. It supports rape culture. Women can't walk down the street as who they want to be because you have other women that are telling them that they are wrong, which gives men the permission to violate them because they are deemed wrong, inappropriate. You asked for it, you were dressed inappropriately, and then men lose all accountability. And so, I really struggle with the prude. I really struggle with women who, while you may not be comfortable in more sexually expressive ways, why you don't have the wherewithal to celebrate a woman who does.
Right. None of us could be the same. I always tell people, imagine if we all thought the same. Like, what a boring world it would be. It's having those choices that makes life exciting. And, just because your choice is one thing doesn't mean somebody else's choice is wrong or impossible. I had someone in these discussions of WAP say that it was impossible for someone who was a sex worker to be a Christian. And I'm like, I'm not even going to tag all the Christian sex workers. I'm like, you are sitting next to church, next to someone who is very comfortable with her sexuality to the point of perhaps selling it. And you'll never know because they're seeing these conversations that are happening and know that you're not a safe person that they can.
Here's the funny thing. God is promiscuous, right? God loves all people. That's a promiscuous God. Made you as you are, love you as you are. That makes God promiscuous because God is not discerning about who she delivers her love to.
Right. Only humans do that.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. God is promiscuous. Let's get this. Let's have a clear understanding that God is a promiscuous God. And until we really unpack that, how God loves everybody.
I had never thought of it in that way.
I know, me neither.
See, God has to be if God is love,
God is.
it has to be promiscuous.
Right.
Because to recognize promiscuity is to say that you are not discerning about who you love. Yeah, I said a thing.
I'm typing it right here because you got to quote this. Yes.
Because I'm always like, the God of my understanding is love.
Yes.
Period. So that makes sense to me. I'd never thought of it in that way, though, because I don't understand how people take God and try to flip it into all this hate and judgment and condescension. I'm like, what God do you know about?
And not only that, if people understood the Bible in its historical context, not just in its modern day written context, because we have to remember, the Bible has been translated over 130 times. So since none of these folks are speaking Hebrew, wait a minute. And since we don't get to unravel this through historical context, through Hebrew, where even when they say they're washing Jesus' feet in Hebrew, another version of feet is actually genitals. So in Hebrew, they were actually washing Jesus' genitals. Now, honey, that makes this book juicy.
Yes.
Juicy.
Yes.
That's a different book, right? And we do know that Jesus walked with the prostitutes. We do know. So I'm trying to find out where we got these partitions from when even Jesus was about it, and Jesus was a sexual being, and Jesus, if you think Jesus was a virgin, like stop,
right. Well, because it was all about dominating and controlling, because the sexual energy is the most powerful energy. And so for them to be able to control us, it means repressing that sexual energy. So then sex is bad, sex is a sin, don't do this, don't do that. So that's what all of that was created, to really dominate and control us. But it's time for us to get back our own power, to be empowered again. And that's what this time is.
Working with you, Renee, and learning about Tantra, I didn't realize how many levels Tantra went through, how deep it went. And, thinking about sexuality, not just about the carnate, joy of it, which is fine, which is great. I'm so excited that it exists. But there's also the spiritual connection of sexual energy, right? That can be used as prayer, that can be used as meditation, that can be used for manifestation, that can be used for, so many things we need our life force for. And I think it's so, wrong to make it into this diminutive thing that's just about carnal, carnal wants and desires. It's
also wrong to make it monolithic.
Right.
Yes, say that again. Make sure they heard you. Say that again.
It is wrong to make sexuality monolithic.
Yeah.
And this notion that we're all just supposed to fit into this little itty bitty window right here. It's completely unreasonable. I'm not sure why anyone would want to be locked into such a narrow, misdefining box.
So what do you say to someone who was raised, because I always hear this, well, I was raised this way, this is what I was taught. So what do you say to someone who says, this is how I was raised, therefore this is right? How could they break out of that one track mind around it?
I would have to ask you, are you really okay with the fact that you were raised that way? Okay, that's you know, there were a lot of young people who were raised and beat while they were raised. It didn't make it right. So we were raised in schools that taught us white history and it was all a lie. It doesn't make it right. So there are a lot of things that we were raised in that were not right. The question is, are you willing to do the work to re-educate and to decolonize yourself from the way that you were raised? I know that my mother, you know, received a lot of spankings from her father, and so she made a conscious decision to never spank me as a child. And so she did better. So the question is, are we going to do better? The question is there's still a yearning in you to be something different? The question is, are you questioning yourself? The question is your partner and your lover happy because you were raised that way too? Because chances are they're not happy either, and you're not happy because they're not happy, and you're not happy because you weren't happy because you were brought up that way. So you really have to ask more defining questions about that. Was fine, that's what your family understood at that time. You know now, does that apply better to your life, or do you want to remain stagnant?
Right.
Also, I look at life as this adventure and this big lab, right? So there are things that I checked out in life, not just around sexuality, but even within sexuality, within dating, that was different to how I was brought up. And some of the things weren't for me. And I explored them in order to know that, though. And some of the things that I was taught wasn't for me were in fact for me. And you know, as an adult, it's fun to kind of check these things out and explore it, because it's just like tasting food. If you try a new food and you don't like it, you don't ever have to put that in your mouth again.
Right.
And I think sexuality is that kind of thing. You could show up at a buffet and put a little of this and that in your mouth, and if you don't like how it tastes, spit it out and never have to taste it.
How about that?
I love that. I love that.
That's so complicated, is it? How about
I didn't hear. Couldn't hear you.
What'd you say, Frenchie?
I said it's not so complicated, is it?
No. PB said fun. I want to say hello, PB. Hello, NC worker. Hello, Raining Woman. Thank you guys for coming back on. Yeah, it does sound like fun. I love the way you describe that, you know. And I think, you know, just another take, you know, just in addition, just adding on, you know, when our parents raise us, they raise us in how they think we should be, right? And so when we enter into relationships, whether it's with a partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, lover, whatever, so many times, or as a parent, we think that we own them. We're possessive of them. They belong to us, you know? And so with the parents, they raise us thinking, you know, this is the way we were raised, so this is how I'm going to raise my children. This is how it should be. But as you become an adult, it takes time for you to say, okay, who am I? Because I'm not my mother. I'm not my father. You know, I'm myself. So what is it that's best for me? Who am I? What do I like? What is my sexuality? You know, how do I start defining myself and doing that exploration, you know? And I think a lot of times it's important for us as parents or as a partner in a relationship to know that we don't own that other person. They don't belong to us. You know, how can we walk and journey together side by side and grow and explore? Because each time the relationship changes, whether it's with a partner or parent child, it's always fluid. It's never going to be the same. It's constantly changing. So how do we grow? How do we be fluid? And that fluidity I talk a lot of in Tantra, that's our sexual energy. Our second chakra is water. That's that fluid energy. So how do we connect to being more fluid? Yes. And allow that creative energy for us to create the life that we want, depending on that moment, depending on that year, depending on that time, depending on that day, you know? So
I'm like, come play with us. I've been talking about sex and sexuality ever since I got to college, because once I left my parents' house, I'm still waiting for my mother to give me that talk about sex. I never got it.
I never got it either.
You didn't
I
want
became a sexual health advocate in college, and one of the first things they talked to us about was how hard and difficult it is for people to talk about sex. And, you know, it's so interesting to see these conversations. I'm no longer in college. I am well past college age, heading into middle age, and people are still having difficulties with these conversations around sex, and it shouldn't be that way. Think about how much more enjoyable sex is when you're able to clearly say, I like this, I don't like that, I want more of this, I want less of that. That should be an exciting point to come to in life, to be able to say what it is you want and don't want, right?
You know, I have a couple coming to me right now. They just sent me a message. Literally, I haven't met them yet. They want to do tantric massage. They want to learn tantric massage on the other. And then they're asking me, they're like, oh, do we have to be naked? Because, you know, my wife, she's a little just uncomfortable. Both of them are. They both said they are. It's a little uncomfortable. Are the lights going to be dimly lit? You know, and asking all these questions. And I'm like, well, you know, to learn tantric massage, you do have to be naked. Like that's part of it. You know, you're massaging the genitals. But I'm like, okay, you know, we'll take it slow. We'll start to talk about the different things and where that stems from. And so it's like, how many people in relationships, married, and you still can't look at each other? That's how taboo the sex is. Having sex in the dark.
And again, just more shame, body shame, conscious shaming, sexual behavior shaming. There's just so much to unravel from. There's really so much to unravel from. And, you know, I'm really looking forward to delving into this, as my focus will be on sexual agency and how do you assert that sexual agency? How do you negotiate your needs? Because a lot of times we simply have never been taught how to negotiate our needs, because even as children, like you said, our bodies were somebody else's. When your parents told you go sit on uncle's lap or give auntie a kiss, it's because your body was not yours. And so now you've had years of that social conditioning, and now they're like, oh, you're supposed to take your body back. You know, like, that's a crazy thing to unwrap and unpack, you know? And so in this workshop, I'm going to talk about those. How do you unpack that when you've been taught that you didn't have boundaries? You know, part of having sex is knowing what your boundaries are. That's exciting.
And it can be a difficult jump, right? Like, let's say you come from a very religious background where you were always told sex is bad until you're married. And then so you followed that, and now here you are married, and now you're supposed to just turn on a dime and make this thing that you were told your whole life was bad good. It can be a little bit of a challenge to navigate. So I'm glad that the Frenchies and the Prandadas of the world exist to help people make those transitions, because they can be a challenge.
Yes.
I've had several conversations with men while working at clubs, and you know, they would say things like, oh, you know, my wife would never do something like this for me. And I'd say, well, have you ever asked her to? Oh, no. Well, then how do you know she wouldn't do something like this for you? You don't know. Why aren't you having these conversations with your mate?
Right. Yeah. I did a kink retreat online, a virtual kink retreat. And one of the couples, he was like, oh, you know, my wife, you know, she's a prude. She wouldn't do any of this stuff. I was like, okay. So he came on and we had her come on. But yeah, she didn't, you know, she didn't even really want to open up and explore. But the cool thing was he opened up and learned different things. And I was like, okay, go in slowly and talking to your wife about these things. And I gave him different techniques to use, because it's so important to have these communications. And just real quick, one other example I had is just these things are just coming to my mind. But just one other example, I know couples that's come to me who gotten married and never had sex prior because they were religious, you know, Christian. Then the sex was horrible, or they've been married 20 years and then they're like, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Like, I don't know myself. You know, my body is now becoming mine. I'm now learning my body. What do I do? You know? So you have all these different examples. And they say, you know, I have one, she's like, I tell my nieces and nephews, don't get married early, explore, have sex with different people. There's nothing wrong with it, you know? So,
well, it's
yeah, but
not
we're
about getting married early. It's about identifying who you are as an individual. And so many times we have misinformed and miseducated our children about who they are. So that's what this workshop is about. Ladies, we are inviting you to bring yourself into a safe space, a confidential space, a space that you can have full acceptance of yourself, ask the questions that you've been yearning to ask, and we're going to get some real answers. We're going to do the work. We're going to do the emotional labor. We're going to have fun and dance and move, and we're going to unpack these things.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes, we're going to definitely be moving the hips, our hips, especially for women in the vaginal area, the pelvic area. You know, we hold on to traumas, we hold on to blockages, you know, and so it's important to do that hip movement. And this is why historically, if you go to African countries, you see them moving their hips. You know, in South America, they're constantly moving those hips. And it's important for us to do that, to release those blockages and traumas that's there. So if anyone has a question, now or never, speak now or forever hold your peace. We're wrapping up.
Save the questions for the workshops. Just get your tickets and come on.
Just go get your tickets.
Yes, get your tickets and come on. I think that we did pretty much answer a lot of different things. Essence, do you want to say anything in closing out?
If anyone had any questions that they felt too shy to put out here, feel free to DM any of us with your questions. But I just encourage everyone to get your tickets, come into this sacred, safe space that we're creating for you all, and let's play.
Let's play, let's have fun. And we could really do this work having fun, you know? So again, there's 2 places you can get these tickets. On Eventbrite, it's on the screen right now, mygoddessrising.eventbrite.com. Or you could go to my website, www.prandadaprem.com. That's PRANDHARAPREM.com. Go to upcoming events. It's the first event on there. So hope to see you there. Thank you guys for coming out and participating and giving your comments. Love you all and have a wonderful rest of your day. And see you this weekend. It's this weekend. So listen, we have 12 spots left. Yes, 2 days in the morning from 9 to 2. So you have the rest of the day to go out and enjoy your summer. You know, enjoy the rest of the day, prime sun. We have 12 spots left. Don't put it off because it's going to be intimate. We're not going to have a lot of people. So get your ticket today to make sure that you can get in and do this workshop. And if you're a guy that's watching, tell your sister, tell your mama, tell your niece about this, okay?
No,
all right.
Gift her the workshop. That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah.
All right. Bye. Have a great one.
Bye,
Love you guys. Bye.